Set to start. 80 seconds.
Hi, I'm Neil and welcome to the Crosscast. It's our first show of 2026, but actually it's all the nines here. It's episode 9 of season 9, and how many people have called 999 to get the ambulances for Lawrence Feek and Wout van Aert and even Kerste Periode, and there were some other people who all wanted a piece of that emergency action for their season-ending injuries. Get well soon, everyone. I know there are a few people who will be listening and unfortunately not able to carry on this year. And we look forward to seeing you next season on the cross bikes. It seemed like Thibaut Nice's shifters also were intent on doing the same to him, but actually he did manage to get away with it, well, several times, as you will have known if you've watched all the races over the weekend. In today's Crosstalk, we're going to wrap up the 2025-26 National Trophy, and we're going to look back on the Kerste period, including Baal and Zonhoven and Dendermonde and Diegem. In today's Laatste Ronde, we're going to look ahead to the national championships that are coming from South Shields in the UK. And there are a few others happening around Europe. There's loads happening around Europe. And we're going to look ahead to the Benidorm World Cup. I'm joined in the studio by Matt Payne and Xan Kreese. Xan, you're back in the UK by the looks of your background. It must be odd, actually, coming back to normal life after that Belgian Kerste period bubble. Has it kind of burst now, or are you still sort of feeling the Kerste period?
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit weird. I think being based out in Belgium for so long, I kind of just felt like I was living and breathing cyclocross, and it was great. You know, there was never more than a few days till your next cross race. On the days in between, you go out for a nice ride, maybe just a few skill sessions. Like, it was so good and so much fun, and I feel like I kind of miss it coming back to reality. Going into the office, it's a bit like, oh, okay, yeah, welcome back to the real world. Here you go. But no, it has been so cool, and there's been so many incredible races. Like, it was just cool to actually be there and like ride them, but it was also really nice to actually watch them as well. So I didn't do all of them, which meant I got to actually be a cross fan on some days. For example, for Diegem and Mol, I got to just sit there and be like, oh, this is so good. I'm actually now watching cross. As much as though every time you don't race, you also kind of wish you were there on the start line. But yeah,
you didn't go in person, did you?
No. It was too cold, especially by the end of the block. As I say, we started off and it seemed really dry, and it was like, what is this? Where's the cross weather? We got to Mol, and then I was watching it, and there the snow came down midway through the race, and it was like, what is going on? So like the back end of that block ended up being this kind of mayhem of snow and sand and absolute chaos. And then kind of where I stay in Bruges, there's no snow. So when I drove to do Zonhoven, I fell asleep in the car in normal and woke up in like a snowy winter wonderland. And then went back to Bruges, everything was normal. And then came back to the UK to where I live, kind of the first snow we'd had all year. And everyone was like, oh, look, it's snowing now on Monday, which was great. But yeah, so obviously I've had quite a bit of snow, it seems. Matt, you in France, have you got snow at the moment, or are you nice and dry?
Well, yeah, it's been really Baltically cold. It's been -6 most nights the last 2 weeks, and it's gone above. It's been really warm in the daytime. It's been at least 2 degrees. So it's that's as hot as it's been, pretty much. And there's been a couple of days where it's just hovered around freezing. And ironically, actually, there was a bit of snow at Christmas. So we actually had a white Christmas and it snowed, as said on the last show. Then actually woke up to snow yesterday and today. And in fact, we've actually got a warning in the region, and no trucks can travel at all. And I've actually got family come down, and they have passed queues and queues and queues and queues of lorries, because nothing over 3.5 tons can move within the whole region.
Wow.
So no trucks within the Charente, within Neuville-Aquitaine, it's like basically the entire region, no trucks, and they are just queuing them at the side of the roads. Nothing is allowed to move. There's one lane on the motorways, and then you get to within about 15 miles of us, and 20k or so, 25k or so, and the snow starts to peter out and disappear, and we actually haven't got any here, but it is still really, really, really cold. I was out on the bike pretty much every day, and I have had two really very fun moments, shall we say. I nearly did a welt. It was very, very close, and I had a full two-wheel slide on sheet ice, and I actually caught it, turned it up, pulled it upright, and got round it when pretty much nobody else did. And I was feeling really good about myself, but then I had another moment, and it was actually on the warmer day where the ground's so cold. The water had sort of all the frost on the trees, and you got all this beautiful winter wonderland, and it all melted, and it all melted and run onto the tarmac, but the tarmac was still cold. It was still freezing. The ground was freezing. So basically, you're just getting this sheet ice everywhere. The second scariest moment was actually when I was holding it together on the bike, and I was like Bambi on ice, but on a bike, tiptoeing my way across super gently, like just not good. And this 4-wheel drive thing came round the corner and then didn't go round the corner missed me by very little, but then ended up in the field because it was literally the sheet ice. So it's been cold. There has been snow. There's still loads of snow nearby. I mean, it's going to make for some really great national championships. But I must admit, when people say, come to France, they said it'll be warm. They said it'll be great. Yeah, it has been over the summer, but in the winter it is definitely much, much, much colder. But the riding has been great, I have to say. I have been looking at the pictures and looking at going up the continent, going, yeah, north of France is freezing. Yeah, Zonhoven's full of snow. Belgium's full of snow. Yorkshire's full of snow. Irvine's not got any. I was like, what's this all about? It's meant to snow in Scotland. Global warming it's said more predictable and changes in patterns, I think was the prediction a few years ago. It certainly seems like it.
Well,
Neil,
it certainly felt
it wasn't
cold.
Snow, was it? It wasn't just me not seeing snow. It looked like sunshine and beautiful weather from what I saw.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was, bearing in mind the date of the year and everything else, it was great. The wind was bitterly cold up on the top, but it was quite nice and sheltered. The event village, which was a 10 out of 10 event village, I have to say, it was superb. Brilliant atmosphere. It was all credit, actually, I have to say, to the organisers there. People were so happy at Irvine. So it was really good. You have to say it has to be something to do with the weather as well, but I think it's literally the only time I've ever raced in thermal bib tights. My gritty thermal bib tights did the job beautifully well. So it's one of those start lines where there's some people there in a skin suit and shorts and everything else. And then next to them, there's people like me in their full-on thermals. And you think, how can you possibly race like that? I did it because I wanted to be I'd rather be slightly warm than slightly cold. Because if I'm cold, physiology, you get vasoconstriction, which means you can't feel your hands anymore. You can't feel your feet anymore. And that's bad for shifting.
Yeah, I thought, and that was me thinking that you were wearing the thermal gritty tights for that extra protection on the move off from the start line when maybe you don't quite make it in one piece without having a little cuddle with the floor.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, for the end of season. I mean, the irony is that I had my result. When I saw the result, it was great. I was really surprised, to be honest. I thought I've done well, actually. But yeah, the start was a disaster. I mean, there were a lot of people that went down. Thankfully, no one hurt themselves. Not at that point.
Was it just a slip pedal, or what happened in front? I didn't see it on the videos.
If you look at my video, which went on the Crosscast as well, I should have done, then we had a front view as well as the Haygarth cam, which we have both of those views, and you can see that it's, I think, to begin with, we thought it was something else, but actually I think it's something simply a slipped pedal on, but second or third pedal stroke. And then I thought I'd made it. I saw it going down. I was going past. My front wheel made it, and then on the video, and then suddenly I was up in the air, and I was doing a nose wheelie, and I thought, I'm going over. And I thought, no, I'm not. I'm not going over. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hold. And then then clonk, plonk. I did go over. Fortunately, everyone was fine. I got a bit of a sore shoulder afterwards, but it wasn't. And as I rode off, I thought, oh man, I'm not sure I should carry on. So I sort of did my, head, bike, body check to go through everything, make sure that it was fine, and certainly, well, I know it looks like was a big knock on the head on the video for me, but it didn't feel like I had a knock on the head, in the sense of it wasn't, if you kind of got a bit whiplashy, but I kind of just rolled on that, and it was the shoulder more than anything. But then, I thought, okay, well, I'll pull in at the pits, and I thought, no, I don't need to. And it's one of those ones where you see the video back and you think, you see the timing, and you see, actually, I lost about a minute, I think, overall. About half of that came from the actual start. It felt like about 25 minutes when you're there, but about half of it was at the start. And then, okay, I'm really sorry, people who were around me, okay? I say it here, and I'm quite open. I rode like an absolute muppet for the first half lap. And there were a couple of people who overtook me. I think they overtook me 6 times in the first half lap, because they overtook me at the start, and then every time we came to a corner, either I overshot it and then they went past me again after I just caught them and overtook them, or then I went into the scrim at least twice in this first half a lap, and I just thought, look, just calm down. I had a little talk to myself. Just calm down, ride like normal, and it will all come back. It will be fine. Whereas this way, if you then try to just make up all those places in half a lap, Michael Van Turnhout clearly watched my video. And did his masterclass on coming back from being on the ground. In fact, Xan, you had the same when you were in Sweden, didn't you? You were, you had this. Yeah. I bet though you didn't ride as much as a muppet as I did.
Oh, you could say that. The first minute when I did it, I was the same. I was like, you go into this stress, you're like, I've been down, right, I need to make up all these places straight away. But then as soon as you actually relax, you naturally make those places up. But it's so hard in the moment to relax and actually let go. It's okay. I'm going to make these places up.
I can just imagine both of you in that situation. And I've been in that situation, and it is so hard to actually just go, okay, let it flow. I need flow, not, because that's what it is, isn't it? It's like, you talk about sort of the red mist coming down, but you do need to let it flow. And I can imagine, it's just, and you make silly mistakes. And I think that's one of the things about Michael Van Turnhout, I think, that you mentioned there, Neil, that when he makes those, when he's coming back, he comes back, but he doesn't, he's quite forceful in his positioning, but he's not on the ragged edge. He's done it, I think he's just done it that many times now. It's kind of like, well, this is like half my races happen like this anyway, so I might as well carry on. I think he is very much about coming back smoother. But I thought it was really, really good. I mean, the pictures I saw, the bridge looked amazing.
Yeah,
the monster bridge.
It was just down. There was no up on the bridge. It came off of the dunes.
You rolled on it, didn't you? And then sort of across, then dropped into the sand.
It was awesome. Honestly, it was. I don't know how many times I rode it over the weekend, but every single one of those was one of the highlights of my racing in this whole calendar year.
Nice.
Day 2. But honestly, that is going to be one of those things that will be a permanent memory of. That was so cool. So unbelievably good job. I'm pleased that they made it safe. There have been a few places where the bridges, you come off it and you get to the end of your race and you wonder how you felt like you rolled the dice every time as ruts appear at the bottom. And I think that the Cyclopark one, where that really rutted out, and it was like and you kind of went down and you saw 50% of not 50%, but you saw 1 in 10 ahead of you going down it and going over the bars, and you think, okay, it's my turn, what's going to happen? But it wasn't like that at all, because I think to begin with, it was when they first built it, my understanding, when they first built it, they took some feedback, and it was like, no, that is going to just rut out, and it's going to be dangerous, actually. And so what they did is they put a little runoff of it. In the end, it was quite a big runoff, actually, to be fair. It probably didn't need to be quite that long, but it was perfect. Yeah, it was great. We were there to say, we're not there to try to hurt people. You're there to make it a good race, and that's not the place where you should be taking places or not. It should be, can you ride the sand? Should be the test.
So maybe there's a suggestion there that actually when bridges are being spec'd up for any trophy or any cyclocross race, that actually the approved design, if you like, or the best practice is actually that when you get to the bottom, that your construction company don't just build you the bridge, but that bridge has an integral section to take you across, so that you are not having that compression in and it rutting and that potential of over the bars. It's a known issue. We know it causes accidents, injuries. Let's have a flat section at the end of every bridge. What's to stop us doing a 2-3 meter, 4 meter flat section? It's not like we're not building a big wooden bridge structure anyway. It's going to cause less accidents, less issues. We're going to be less likely to have somebody go, well, you knew this was a problem and you kept on doing it. I'm not seeing many downsides to this apart from another row of planks.
Yeah, I can't see any reason not to. Because it isn't something like the challenge on the bridge is sort of getting up it and getting away, rather than you as you come down and you do that compression, and then where you get like Derby, where you're kind of coming down, and then you've got as much speed as you want into those tight, twisty corners. That's really good. That's a good design of how the course runs there. You've got to think about it. Whereas, obviously in Irvine, it was on the sand. And what was nice about that actually as well is that you had choices of where to go onto the sand, and people were taking different routes. If you were happy to ride the rut, like I was, then I could ride the rut, and I knew that I'd be able to make it, whatever, 20 meters or 30 meters, whatever it was. Maybe that's me feeling good about myself. Maybe it was 5, I don't know. But it was, and then onto the beach and be able to ride. And you know what's really irritating though? I found a really fast line in that section on my last lap. I wish I'd known that there was this faster line there. It was so much better. And it's like one of those things of, this is so not obvious and it's so good. So next time, I'm not going to tell you what it is now. Ask me after the next one. But yeah, it was, honestly, yeah. Okay, Matt.
Sorry, can I ask a few more questions? Because I know it wasn't just a national trophy event. It was the whole Hogmanay, Crossmanay, team relay. And I know, Neil, you went up, you had to go up later. So you weren't up there for that. But I know your team was there because I saw the Gritty team in relay. How was that first bit? Because, it's one of those things, it's very difficult often in most cycling events to juggle elite level racing and festival type racing. And I'm going to call it festival type, but you know what I mean? It's fun. The Super Rafa Supercross party type team relay, having fun with that sort of uber serious national series. Did it work? Did everybody have a good time? Were there any clashes?
Yeah. So I'm going to come back and answer that bit in a moment. But before then, I'll say what was brilliant was, and the reason I say this is because this could happen at every trophy. Okay, if you had the capabilities, if you got the team, is that they had the youth races as well. So they had the under 8s and the under 10s and the under 12s, which was kind of on a separate part. They did it at Falkirk. They did it at, I think they did it at Clanfield. Yeah, if you've got the team to do it, then it's amazing, it brings in so many people, and they have a great time. So I'll start with that so I don't forget it. But I
agree with you that it's capability, and I think that's why we did see it dying out, because people were struggling to marshal and deliver
in venue
the trophy, and that was always prioritised over putting on the kids' race. If you can do it all, fantastic, brilliant. Yeah. Inspire that next generation, for sure.
And of course, that was where my family started going. They started racing in those when they were beforehand, and they would go anyway. It was great. They loved it. But yeah, beforehand, this year I actively chose not to go on those days. We had other things around. We had a bit of some family around and stuff, but we weren't like, oh no, I'm going to have to miss it. It was like, okay, that's fine. I don't really, not that keen. That is not what's going to happen next time. I definitely would want to go next time. So even the first thing that was said to us from Belgian Freaks Mick. Everyone is going to know Belgian Freaks Mick.
Yeah, we all know Mick. Yeah,
but I won't use his vocabulary. But he just said, "Oh, it was amazing. You should have been here. It was so good." And so it was. Yeah, they had a great time for the Hogmanay. The night race was cold, but I think it was really enjoyed by people. And the relay again, that was really, really enjoyed. So people seem to love it. Proof of the pudding for me is, if it was happening exactly the same next year, national trophy, then I would go for the full 4 days. No regrets for this year because I took a decision based on what I knew, but it was great. Yeah. So I think overall it was for what it was a superb event. Really enjoyed it. The course was challenging in lots of different ways. It wasn't an easy course, but it was also rewarding. So it had some hard climbs. It had one of the climbs where I couldn't ride it. People that were there would know it. It's a really long ride. And it was so frustrating because I knew Caroline took her cross bike with her first time. And she had the wheels I rode the Three Peaks on with the gear I wanted. And I was in the race and I knew I was riding. I was within like 3 or 4 meters of the cassette I wish I'd put on my bike, but on race day I couldn't ride up the climb. I was losing traction and just didn't have the gears, so that was my only regret. But I don't think it would have made a lot of difference on the day. But I mean, overall it was really good. We had Anna Flynn take the win in the women's race ahead of Freya Whiteside and Esther Wong, and Jensen Young looking great. I mean, somehow Jensen always looks fast, but he was really on it.
Yeah, it's depressing, isn't he? He always looks quick on a bike, no matter what he's doing. He could be literally stood at the traffic lights. He looks fast.
Yeah, and there's Spencer Corder and Deck Oldham. Deck Oldham, getting that third place in the elite race, good achievement. Well done, Deck. That was a cracker. With Jensen, I think. Yeah, I know he's good everywhere, but when it comes to some things that seems to be a little bit drier this year, he's done the gravel, he did the Three Peaks, he's unstoppable, it seems, in those places, and someone I think to look out for maybe next weekend as well.
Yeah, it'd be really, really interesting. Before we go on, Neil, overall, we're going in, I think we've got Fionn Drake winning. She'd already wrapped up the series, and Thomas Mina wraps up the series, and understandably sat out. Rest of the standings, what we get? Who's done what?
So Fionn, we had a lovely chat to Fionn actually after she didn't have a good day on the bike, so it didn't happen for Fionn but obviously she won the series overall, so excellent outcome there, and Giles Drake won the series as well, so that was quite nice. Yeah. So we were treated to a fast race at Dendermonde. Bonkers Dendermonde, wasn't it? Nice the win, attacking Sveik and Del Grosso in that final lap. Even after Del Grosso's punctures, Del Grosso is so impressive this year. And Brand took another World Cup with Pizza and Fukune having that really close battle behind. Now, Xan, you sent us a message on the day of Dendermonde, and I want to know if this was a serious message or not. You said, has anyone ever ridden Dendermonde on file treads? Come on, was that really? Were there people there riding on file treads?
I definitely saw file treads, hence why I sent the message. But that, in my defence, was during course practice. As far as I'm aware, I didn't see a single one for the races, or at least the elite races. Because I think this is one of the rounds which had junior races that weren't World Cup junior races. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those did go on a file tread. I think because it was quite frozen in the morning, but like a firm frozen. So it did defrost a little bit, and then you did want that bit more grip. But no, it was the quickest end I've ever seen, because I was comparing it to last year. And when I was doing my practice laps, it was like, wow, I'm back at the pits. Oh, I'm at the pits again. I was like, I remember last year, like it was a slog. It was slow. And this year I was like, this is going to be a 9 or a 10 lap race, because it is riding that quickly. It's honestly ridiculous.
I have a sheet that I prep that comes out every cross race, and basically it allows me to basically knock off the laps and say how many laps are to go. So I know that in a X number of in a 5 lap race, when we get to lap 3, we've got 2 to go, because in the heat of the moment you can make a mistake and not. So I have that, and when I was making it, I thought, right, how many shall I put in? And I went to 12 laps, thinking I am never going to use 12 laps. And when the men's race started off, I just went, oh, I think I made a mistake here, because this could go to 13. If they get moved on, this could be. And the average speeds were like 30k an hour nearly. It was just like, how on earth is this? This is not Dendermonde. This is not what, and I was talking to some people down in the pit before the show, asking about tyres, and, everyone was like, yeah, we are going to go with something with grip because of the way the bank's cut, because actually where the overtaking opportunities are actually seem to be more about grip, actually, and going round and not making mistakes, as it was about being aggressive. It was don't get it wrong, and you'll do all right. If you make a mistake, you're going to pay big style for it, and that seemed to be how it played out, even more in the men's race than in the women's to some degree. But I thought that it's not my favourite race, isn't Dendermonde, from a point of view of it's got one defining feature. And I said this before in the last show, it's almost about all those subtle things that you can see when you're a real fan. It was just a different kind of subtle. It was like 100 mile an hour screamingly fast subtle, because when people were going around corners, making mistakes, you saw lines coming in and people making mistakes that didn't look like a mistake, but they were enough, and that was it. You were in trouble. I mean, when you were racing it, is that what it felt like, that you were kind of like on this really fine edge all the time?
A little bit. And as you were saying, it's kind of, if you make a mistake when you're going at speed, suddenly like a second gap feels a lot bigger. So you take a wide line on a corner and end up going into the barrier a little bit. That group that you were with are gone. Trying to close that kind of gap down on a race that is that fast is near impossible. So you are kind of on this limit of like, I need to like keep on it. I need to be there. I need to stay with my group. Otherwise, trying to bridge that back is going to burn a lot of matches. And obviously, in a race, you only have so many of those before you blow up, which was me, because I found myself struggling. Like, I ended up in no man's land for a good point of that race. So there was a rider about 10 meters ahead of me and a group about 10 meters behind. And rather than just sitting up and being like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to settle into the group behind, I was like, no, it's fine. I can catch the one ahead. And I got to halfway in the race and I was like, I'm not going to catch her. They're still just there. And all I've done is just blown my doors off to just sit in this one spot. So I found the back part of the race. I had a flyer of a start, did really well. And then it was just like, okay, I'm going to slide backwards now. And I think that is
so
how it races.
counterintuitive, isn't it? You don't want to do that. Oh, we're flying. I'm going to just jump it. I'm just going to ease. I'm just going to take a bit of a break. It's so you're like, I've got this gap. I need to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give this up. I'm not going to give this away easily. And actually, it is the right move. But absolutely. Bruce has been stuck in the middle.
And for people that are, we always say about the young racers, but it's true for old racers as well. You just look at Tibor Del Grosso. He's a master of this. You'll see him. He can be off the front, and if he knows it's not worth it, he's so obvious with him. I think everyone does it, but it's really obvious with him when he waits for the bunch to come back in and to catch him, and he knows that that's given him energy for 2 laps time. But yeah, it's so hard to do though. I think you're in your race though, Xan, I think you're much more tactical than in the Masters 50s that I'm in, where sort of like everyone goes as fast as they can. It seems, and as much, you do some pacing, but it's not quite the same as that. The thing I noticed with that was it looked to me like for almost all of the race, it was like there was just a single line. It's almost like it was single track. It was because it was so fast that you couldn't get round. And I was looking to see where do people need to be ahead. I was doing Neil's, wind it back from the finish, to see where you need to go. And it was I thought it was all the way back to, I think it was before the pit. And then when it came to the last lap, and actually T-Bone Nice had other ideas, he went somewhere that wasn't quite so obvious.
You see, I disagree. I did the same thing in the commentary box, and the phrase that had been sent to me was, "It's so fast where there is the one track. It's like it's been burnt into the ground." And that it is single track. It's almost burnt into the grass. And I thought that's really summed it up. If you go offline, you need so much more to go around. But I wound it back, and actually there was a right-hand turn that you came around on the run into the... And I thought you could make ground there. But I think, certainly in the men's race, which was the one with more... There was more chance of a different winner. I think both Nace, Del Grosso and Sweet were kind of lucky in some of the pulling back that had been done in the early parts of the lap. And you kind of saw Nace almost just take advantage of that. And I thought it was really smart riding on the way through. There was clear everyone had this plan. But when Nace, we saw him go, there was a slow ascent as you come up around a left-hand turn before you came to the top, then you drop down past the pit. And when he went around that turn, he really almost semi-stalled and accelerated, and that for me said everything. It was, I think there was a lot of brains required for that race, more so than maybe normal, where you can just, put your foot down and go. It was great racing, brilliant. It started us off well for that next section.
Yeah, totally. I think it was really almost in some ways it was the only race that kind of was almost like a standard race. There was some strange things were happening in all the ones afterwards. I mean, Dendermonde was dry. I mean, the whole race, to be fair, it's all of them have been like snowy.
Was like the desert. It was super fast instead of like tracked. I've seen ploughing matches in the local fields with less mud than Dendermonde normally.
Yeah. Whereas Lowenhout was, it was very, very different to normal. We had different riders. Yeah. We had different riders behind Brand. And this time, listen, no, it was Backstead in fourth. Backstead's moving on up. I think it was a good choice to race Dendermonde, actually. And Zemanova and Bakker were on the podium as well, with, of course, Van der Poel, but Van der Putter and Nieuwenhuis completing the podium in the men's race. So I think this was where we had a first indication, or another indication is probably fair, that Wout van Aert is competitive to Van der Poel. He was getting closer this time, and it was sort of neutralised by his two punctures, which was pretty gutting, I have to say. But of course, that was the moment of the season. Yeah,
you see, I hate to say this, and I am a big Wout fan, along with like the rest of Europe. I think pretty much, if not the world. I think those punctures were because he's not got the time on the bike. He's having to push the skills, maybe the tech to its absolute limit, to stay with somebody who's got more in the tank, more speed, more flow, in a better position racing in Mathieu van der Poel. And I think it's when you get on the ragged edge, either you make mistakes and you ride into a post or rope or do two-wheel slides or put your foot down in the wrong place, whatever it is, or get two punctures, rather than ride through it smoothly like Mathieu van der Poel did. And for me, that's kind of sums it up. He got the power, he's got the speed, his skills were coming back, he could hold, but he then got two punctures, and they were caused directly or indirectly because he's still not at that same level, and he wants to be, and he knows he can be. So two flats is just, you're not coming back from that. The first one maybe, but he's still finished, and that's why we like Wout van Aert, because we know he's still going to go to the finish. I think the biggest thing for me was Laurens Sweeck.
Yeah,
that was like sad face. If you're not watching on YouTube, why not? But sad face.
Yeah. So Laura's Feek corner that he's done thousands of times. No, it wasn't even anywhere that seemed to be particularly tricky. Although Xan, you can tell us if that's not correct. But slid out, and that's put him out for the rest of the season. So yeah, Neil is sad. I'm not going to see him in World Champs. So yeah, and that of course that's the end of his World Cup campaign.
End of his season and his World Cup campaign, and that's it. And I thought he was coming into form. I mean, he was leading the World Cup overall, but I loved the fact that he'd sort of carried on. He'd gone away from Dendermonde holding that 1 point lead, and you're just like, oh, this is fantastic. It's super close. It's super tight. It's really set us up. And then learn how, and down he goes. And you just like, and did he not? Am I right in thinking he clipped the barrier?
That's what.
That's actually what caused it. He clipped the barrier coming around the corner. I think that's what caused the crash, but I don't know. I can't remember.
That's that was the corner onto the start straight.
Yeah,
or the finish straight.
Yeah, and then he didn't have enough room, or whatever caused it. Yeah, it was down hard on that time. It's just like,
was there anything different about that corner? Was it just,
like? I wouldn't personally say so. Like, one of the things I think for loan out normally is you probably are running a slightly grippier tyre than we were this year because of the conditions. And yes, what you typically find is that the corner where you transition from the mud, the grass to the start finish straight, the mud kind of gradually gets dragged onto the finish. So maybe was it like the fact he was running a less grippy tyre for the speed? Was it just he was on the limit maybe? It's hard to say, but either way, it's a massive shame. And I think that's such a loss to the men's field this year in the racing, because I think we don't know really what he could have done, but I think he really was up there, particularly in that World Cup series. He was giving us a proper fight for it, and you could see how much he was fighting to keep that jersey every race. He was going all out, so make sure we got on the podium, made sure he didn't lose it. And it's like, I'd really love to have seen how long, if he could have held it for, and if he could have taken it the rest of the series, but here we are.
Yeah, that was the way it was. Yeah.
Well, it could have been, but I thought it also kind of, in some ways, it was a little precursor for the fact that we were in for shocks. We were in for surprises, and everything was going to be different. Going from Lowenhout to Digham. Digham is Digham. It's always the same. No, it wasn't. Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't even close to the same as normal. I didn't think. I thought it was like, it was a different race almost. It was like, have they changed venue? And the answer was no. But it felt like you're watching a completely different race than normal. Whether it was or not, I don't know. What do you think, son? You were,
Well, I said this is one I actually got to sit home and watch, which was so much fun. And I've not done Digham for the last 2 years, but I was sitting there watching it I don't know, I know that it has got all those street sections, and it kind of typically you have that transfer from the slippy, slidey grass sections to those long straights down the streets. But the racing, I don't know, it just seems so much more interesting. Like the women's race for starters, you had those battles throughout, and maybe it's because we were missing the riders who've been winning races so far this season that actually we were getting to see different battles play out to normal. I was thinking Puck is a really strong rider, but actually we've not quite seen her have that chance right at the front up until we got to Digham. I was just hooked. That was me sat there for the 2 hours. I feel like I have raced Digham in very similar conditions to how it looked. But again, not being on the ground, I can't quite say how it felt as a rider. But and the men's race, it felt like such a familiar result, but yet such a brand new one. Compared to the years where you had Pidcock and Van Aert and Van der Poel, and it was like this new battle all over again. But
it was. I think for the women's race, it was Peters' first win of the season. She's not won since almost a year ago, so that was. I think it's worth noting that she's sort of coming around. She's kind of got that feeling of winning and back. Alvarado was part of her rise to the front when she's kind of getting that flavour of podiums, which she then turned into some flavour of a couple of wins a bit later on. But yeah, the men's race was phenomenal, really. We got for sure Van Turenhout, who was out right off the start. I know what that feels like. And then Del Grosso.
I did think, he's just, that was an absolute classic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Van Turenhout and we've talked about this before on the Crosscast, this season and previous seasons, Van Torenhout coming back through the field. Just like, where has he got to? Where's he got to? Where's he got? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
It was also kind of, when he had that crash, like the way he got up, he looked like he was going to roll around to the pits and pull himself. Like there was no urgency.
I thought that was
it was
it.
not me too. Like there was no I need to go. He just kind of picked himself up. And I think that was what we were on about earlier, like the difference of someone who is so calm in that moment is like, right, take a breather. I'm all right. Bike's all right. Yeah, okay, I'm going to get on the bike now and I'm going to carry on and just move through the field. Like it was almost beautiful to like just see how he progressed through that field.
Yeah. But at the front, we've got, I think, Vishura making closing the gap on Del Grosso and Nace. And it looked like when he had closed that gap, so he had to go on the front, almost like to say, yeah, I can be on the front. Which I think Sveik did at...
And they went, oh, no, you can't sunshine.
Sveik did that at Zonhoven, it was a long time ago, with Van Aert and Van der Poel, where he kind of chased them, caught them.
I remember and then had to
go on the front.
Yeah, I'm going to have a go on the front.
Just to have a go. But yeah, then we had that. I think that the race was over 3 times in that final lap with different people then at the front.
So, I lost count in the race how many times. The tarmac dive down, the tight left, and then that steep ascent where just before you got to the sand, that was so critical. And you saw different people make it, stalling, getting it right, not getting it right, all race long. You thought, this is going to be so critical come the last lap. It won't be decided any later than this. Going back to your sort of point of where's that last decisive moment, I thought it was going to be on that climb. And I think I probably thought that about 4 or 5 times through the race. And then it wasn't. And it's like, okay, and then into the sand. I don't know what's going on there. Is there some kind of new physics law about, about Nace's arms or hands have a gravitational effect of some sort that pulls them closer to wooden posts and bits of rope? Because at the moment, it's like he's got it's like 2 magnets and you put them on the table and they just stick together. Yeah. It's like that. It's like out of nowhere. What are you doing? And he was getting closer and closer, but it just seems to come. It's so quick.
I've not heard him talk about it, but it was it's that feeling. As a rider, where you're next to tape or rope or whatever, and you kind of get this slow motion thing when it just kind of, it really just neatly just wraps itself around your bike, and you kind of see it happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you still, if you see, of course, many of us, I'm sure, have watched this in slow motion. As the bike comes along, it was the rope went up between the shifter, between the brake lever and the bar, and then as he went past the post. And remember, these are Euro brakes, so they went past the post, and I think that it just rammed the front brake on as it pulled it round, which is why it was so sudden and spectacular.
And it's the dip in the rope, isn't it? Because basically, it's not going. The rope's not coming in as you go past the first post. The rope then dips, it goes underneath, then you go a bit further, and it's coming back up again towards the next post because of that sagging, and then you can't put it in reverse. You're not going to go backwards up. I have to say, I had my money was on Del Grosso anyway, because Del Grosso's, the way Del Grosso rode that sand was superb. Time and time again, he proved that he was the best there, and because we didn't have the last corner onto the tarmac and up the stairs and onto the tarmac wasn't as muddy. You weren't going to see anybody really mess that up. And for me, therefore, it really did come down to the sand. And Del Grosso, for me, he had that. It wasn't going to be, Nace was not going to, even if Nace hadn't have face planted, hooked done whatever he did, for me, Del Grosso was going to take that. And it was his. He just looked so good on there, but it was brilliant race.
And is this one of those races that we're going to come back to in season 20 and say, oh, do you remember when it was the first time that Nace and Del Grosso had that battle at the front at Deacon? It could be many times that this could happen. It's been great that they've
put the date in your diary kind of moment, isn't it? Because it could be a portent of a rivalry to come to equal Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel.
Did
sure.
Nice ride into the posts at Basel? I don't remember seeing him, but bearing in his track record over these races, I'm sure he must have done it if it was off camera. But where we had Basel, we've got another race, of course, with Brand finishing at the front, but this time it's Peterser and Backstead. So Peterser again, well up there. I thought that Peterser was working hard to get up there. Obviously, gutted that Neff wasn't quite able to get to the front. I was desperately hoping she was going to. And we did have in the men's race that was quite a good battle early on, very early on with Van der Poel and Nice, but it ended up being Verstringer who came through, did the chase and took that lead just before Van der Poel just started to hammer those nails home, which meant the end of the race.
How much energy did Van der Poel save because he could ride comfortably that climb into that tight right-hand turn and drop back down again?
Yeah.
We saw everybody, didn't really matter what line he was on, he could just ride it. He was doing it, and it looked like he could probably do it in his sleep. Yeah. And yet everybody else was fighting for the line. Nobody else cleaned it every time. And we saw, and I think that's why Verstringer actually had such a great ride, because he nailed that 2 or 3 times. He got that really, really right. And Nace got it right once or twice. But it was a bit, I love Basel normally. And I have to say, it was the one of the race of the Kersteperiode that didn't thrill me as much as it would normally.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I thought it was the least exciting in either the men's or the women's races of all, and the bar's set very high this year because we've got so much going on over the Kersteperiode. But normally Basle's like right up there, and this time around, because everything else has stepped up, it's gone above it, and I think it just didn't quite have it for me.
Xan, you were racing,
I raced Basel. That's what.
Yeah.
I found this really interesting because for me, and it could be due to the conditions, this was the race as a rider I actually enjoyed the most so far out of this Kersteperiode. And for kind of a weird reason, when we did our course practice, the course was borderline boring. It was really dry. It kind of rode a bit like Lonau. It was just, those mounds that the boys were struggling on, like the ones before you head towards the planks and the finish. You could ride up those without a second thought. It was like, oh, this is easy. This is... And then as for the women, we were on the rollers, the rain came down and it completely changed the course. So for like the women's field, at least I found, what I'd gone out thinking is what I need in my tyre pressures, which tyres I need. I now wasn't going to see the course and needed to try and make a decision on what I thought I needed. And for the first lap, I hated it. I definitely made the wrong call. And I had to and I was like shouting to my picture, like, it's basically just anything but what I've got right now. This is not it. And then managed to ride into it but it's one of those races, and I think that was so fun about it. It's one of those ones where your back end is kind of just sliding and you just have to kind of get on with it and be like, yeah, okay, my wheels are slip and sliding around. I'm not going to come off. I'm comfortable in my line and this is good. And I think that almost that changing conditions for a rider is really exciting because you have to try and adapt to it on the fly. And especially when the rain kept coming and the lines kept changing and the course kept getting worse and worse, you were having to change lap to lap. I imagine the men probably had a bit of an easier time because they were probably course practicing whilst before our race and when the rain had started, so they probably had a better idea. But again, the course probably changed by the time they hit the course. So from our perspective, it was so much fun.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's being there, racing it, watching it. Two very different things, and I do think the men actually they did struggle a little bit as well in that. Because obviously they'd done the course practice, it was rain, but they were still having to anticipate how much would it cut up during the women's race to when they were racing. But yeah, I thought it's one of those weird things. I didn't see anybody who didn't enjoy racing Mole. I don't, and I know there were some spectators. Someone's going to correct me here, but there's some spectators and pit crew who absolutely loved Mole, and I watched it and I thought Mole was brilliant. Absolutely. Apart from the obvious incident, I thought that was incredible to watch. And on the ground, apparently, when that snow rolled in and it came across and it rolled in. Apparently, you could hear where the snow had got to because there was this cheer from the crowd as the snow made its way up, like a Mexican wave, but colder, basically. It was a mole snow roar.
No, I think it made for very, very great racing. I think it was really, especially in the women's race, as it started what seemingly before the snow and then obviously ended in that pretty much snow blizzard as Alvarado crossed the line. From what I have heard, there were some very, very cold women and very, very cold mechanics who were not quite prepared for the weather that happened. And you could say maybe look at the forecast, but
it was on the forecast.
But yeah, it's so hard to predict.
It was on the forecast that you were going to get something was coming in, and it was going to be, one, cold, and bearing in mind what's around there, and two, the timing of it from the forecast that I saw in real time was correct. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not like some metro, not some weather god. I was using the Apple weather app to look at it, and it was just that went ding, ding, cold and wet. And looking at the temperatures, I went, ooh, that could be interesting. And it was. And it was it wasn't just... I mean, I was so glad I wasn't riding it because I think that would have been the scariest thing because you go out thinking one thing and then it changes. I hate that when that happens. I want to go out. If it's going to be snowy, I want to know it's going to be snowing, or if it's dry or whatever. Those changing conditions and the way that it changed, particularly when it got quick, just... hats off to everybody who rode it.
I think there's a very big difference between changing when it gets like from dry to wet to actually, however it is, whether that's dry or wet, to then cold and icy, because suddenly as soon as it's ice, no tire is going to give you grip, and the way you have to ride is completely different. And I think that's probably why we did see the instance we might have seen in the men's race, because that is even harder to adapt to than a course that's got wet, muddy, and slippier.
Neil, the incident. Did you watch it and go, oh, no, or some variation thereof?
Yeah, I totally did. It was like, oh man, what's happened here? But it was even it wasn't even that spectacular. That crash happened dozens of times, on and off camera, with people just going around corner in the ice and slipping out, and I thought he was going to be back on his bike, and then when he hobbled in the pit, I thought, well, okay, there are riders out there, and I'm sure we could each name about 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 of them who would hobble like that, even if they've, just stubbed their toe on a blade of grass. But it's like, but for him to do it, you think, oh, that doesn't look good. And so it's gutting. We've got several people out now because of these races, the incidents that have happened in these races, with Wout van Aert out for, of course, world champs. That's the big one, as well as Sveik. So from the front runners, it's
Van der Heijden. Am I right in thinking that Van der Heiden's also potentially out, but maybe in because she didn't take to start in Zonhoven? And again, that was a crash and a slide out that sort of come down heavy. Out is not good news for the Worlds, because you've got to say, when he was there, he looked like he was the only person who had the power to potentially hold Van der Poel at bay when Van der Poel's in full flow. And
we had the conversation about this, and then we said, well, at least Del Grosso looks like he can do, he can take it to him. But then we said, but in terms of nationality, even if he could, there's going to be those sort of national team orders. So it's kind of clutching the straws, really. I mean, obviously,
he's nowhere near. He's good, but he's good compared to the rest of the race field. He's not Mathieu van der Poel beating good. Not yet. There isn't anyone out there. The only person who's stopping Mathieu van der Poel win that title is Mathieu van der Poel. Or maybe a spectator.
With Lawrence Sveik out, then, I agree. Yeah. So, so disappointing. But there we go. That's sport, isn't it? That's any sport. You can only beat the people that are there on the day. If they're not there, then, that's your time. And it's been round the other way with Van der Poel. When Van der Poel's had his injuries, other people have taken opportunities. So, but obviously it's gutting, and get well soon. But did you see the videos that they played at Zonhoven?
Yes.
From Spake and from which.
And everybody singing "Happy Birthday" to George.
Yeah,
it was great.
For two people that have just, their seasons are at an end, I thought they looked. Total respect to them. No, I think they won a lot of fans. Although I think they're people that aren't short on fans anyway. Those two. When we got to Zonhoven, Xan, you were at Zonhoven. Did you go flying at any point?
I actually didn't, though. When I had a lot of people ask me to check if I had, this was one race where I managed to, but it was honestly so awful. Like, normally the descents into it, it's kind of a case of, you keep your weight back, you can kind of pedal down it, it's all right. This year, I don't know what the snow had almost done to the sand, but it was like deeper and more wet. And normally wet sand compacts and it's fine, but it was like a different breed of sand completely. You were going down it and you almost had to try and fight your bike to stay in a rut, because the second you came out of the rut, it tried to flick you, and it was so much harder to control than previous years. And I was quite lucky because I turned around to mechanics in the pits and I was like, I don't know what's happened, guys. I can't ride in the sand anymore, and this is normally something I feel quite confident at. And thankfully, Anna Kay kind of stopped and had a chat with me, and she's like, "It's awful this year, isn't it?" And as soon as she said that, I was like, "Okay, it's not just me. It is riding completely differently to how it has previously."
I got to watch a lot of the footage of warm up pre-race, and I have lost count of the number of people who I saw go for an absolute flyer, and the way they got in. And I thought it was really interesting that if you watch Peter's video, course preview video that she did the day before, she was saying then, this is a whole different animal down here than it has been previously. And it really did play out. It's a gift to commentators when the first lap you have the incidents you have in the women's race, and the issues in the men's race, and Thibaut Nace going face down in practice. I mean, that was a full face of sand when Thibaut Nace went down in practice on there. He went down, he was wiping sand out of his eyes, out of his mouth, everything. It absolutely, it made me laugh. And yet at the same time, I thought, oh man, I so feel for you, because you just know that that's going to be the norm, because nobody could ride it like it was before. And it's the amphitheatre cross. It is a monument, as far as I'm concerned, of cyclocross. And for me, it didn't disappoint. It just got even better. Sorry, Zan.
Felt that
I want to comment like that again.
With Alvarado taking the win there, ahead of Brand, with Peter in third. I love Peter's comments actually about when three of them went down the first or the second entry, yes. Where she was saying, I just thought it was hilarious. I went down, then everyone else did as well. But yeah, I felt, because there was Brand went down. She had several incidents, and I wondered at one moment if this was going to be a sudden throwback to, was it 2 years ago when she got injured? At exactly one of those bits. She was absolutely fine on the.
She broke her nose, didn't she? On one of those sort of transfer bits. It was transfers that cost her more time than. Yes, she went down on that first descent, but it was actually when you were coming out of a corner on the flat transfers that she seemed to lose it. I don't know whether it was tyre choice or pressure. When she handed back the lead again, when she went round, she sort of got it wrong and ended up going from the right side to the left-hand side of the course. And you saw sort of right past and go, oh, thanks. I thought that was my race over. And it was like, you just looked at it and we just went, oh, do you know what? It's like she couldn't do the transition and the fast flat turns. And they were the ones that were catching her more than the big descent sections that she seemed to be getting right. But to say Brand has never won that race, Of
course, she still hasn't, has she? Yeah, I just realised that. Yeah,
she has never ever won that race. Yeah. And you just and I was, as I said in the commentary on for the UCI, was put the date in your diary. This is the day.
Yeah.
Brand's winning run was beaten, and this is the day that in the 2025-26 season she didn't actually.
And it was the day after, and it was Alvarado's second in a row.
Yeah,
wins. So as much as
but
in the men's field,
it could have been
was
any one of the three, couldn't it? It could have been. It could have been Alvarado. It could have been Peterson. It could have been Brand. It could have been any one of those three.
I don't know. I think with Alvarado, but with Alvarado taking the win, I think that I sort of feel that she will take a bigger boost from that than the other two. Yeah. Of course, we can't miss the Nace hitting the fence again. This time showing why you still have a hydraulic hose inside your bar to hold the end of it on if you break your bar off. I'm glad, I'm glad that he didn't actually collide with the spectator who was there. Someone was there with sticks, and that could have been really awful if they'd have hit at that point. But yeah, what's he got to do at the moment? Yeah,
Just there's winning the crowd. There were 20,000 people in the audience at Zonhoven. 2023, there were 16,000. There were 20,000 people there spectating this year. To put that into context, Hulst in 2024 had 22,000. So that bodes well for the world champs. Hoogerheide world champs was 50,000. That was the crazy, crazy year. That's how many people. There were 20,000 people in Zonhoven. And I think every one of those 20,000 was cheering him on as he ran down into the curl with the bar flapping about by the side of him. I mean, all power to him. And at the end, he was just like, yeah, hit post again. It happens. This is cross racing this way. It's great. And I was actually watching back his interview at the start of, I think it was Liège-Bastogne-Liège in 2025 today. Random research. But he's still, whether he's on the road or he's on the cyclocross bike, he's still got that, how are you going to do today to win? And he's just going, no, I just quite like to get to the finish. That would do me. And if I'm around at the finish with the right people, then even better. But I'm not going to win it, am I? Come on, we've got Tadej and Matthew, and it's my first year. Get real. And it's like, it was that, yeah, I've hit the post, I've broken my bike, I'm not going to do. And he just kept on going. I think he's brilliant. It's absolute superb character. Love it.
Yeah, totally. And at that, I think it's time to take the bell and look forward to what's coming up in the Laatste Ronde. So in the Laatste Ronde, this is where we look ahead at what's coming up. And really what's coming up is a whole bunch of races from national championships from all over Europe, a few other places in the world, but mostly it was all the European ones. Some of them bigger start fields than others. But let's start off with South Shields, British national champs. It's a venue we've been to several times before. I really like the venue. It's somewhere that I've always said I've never ever seen anyone come into the pits apart from for a mechanical, although maybe that will change this year. There certainly is a little bit of talk that there could potentially be a bit of mud in the bowl.
There's a lot of water, isn't there? If it snowed as much as I think it has, I think you've got the potential that depending on when that melts, that's going to be really interesting. Or if it melts.
I've seen they've got a brand new start. The start looks amazing, actually. So, and I think they've got a brand new facilities there. I think as I understand it, they've got a whole new set of like clubhouse, and there's multiple sports facilities who've got some new features there. So when you're there, do have a look and see what can be done by people working together. I've not seen it myself, but they're certainly people I've spoken to who are really excited about it. So the start.
Can I just put this out there? Just because it's nice and new and shiny doesn't mean that you can take your bike or your cyclocross shoes or stand in the showers in your muddy kit if it does get muddy. Please, please, please. When we get these great new venues and we get these great facilities, please don't trash that. Use your noggin. I know you might be cold, you might be muddy, you might be wet, but don't trash the facilities. We've seen it happen in the Northeast before. Durham was lost as a venue because of that very reason.
Yeah. I can help you with new kit, especially if you need any stripy stuff done. Okay, so then there's a new start, which this is one of the things with this, where it's always been like, well, where's the new, how are they going to do the start? It's genius. They're going along by the seaside, so you can get your Punch and Judy and your donkeys and everything else on the seafront. There's a promenade along the front, and then you're going to come up. You turn right. So you're on a road by the seafront. So it's all hard start. Then you're going to turn. There's a 90-degree right-hand turn, and then where if you've been there before, where the dunes are up at the, they're covered in grass, but at the top, past the pits, up at the top, you're then going to climb up and up and up, and you're going to join the course up at the top off the start, and then you're kind of into the lap that we know and love. So it's a very different start.
Abergavenny-esque then, basically.
Yeah, totally.
Which you were talking about last show. Abergavenny-esque. It has its own dedicated start, and then you onto the course proper.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, really looking. So it sounds like it's going to be national champs level start, which would be good. So there's going to be some YouTube coverage, TV coverage. Some people aren't that keen on paying a couple of quid to stream it. Take whatever. Keyboard warriors, fight away if you wish. But at the end of the day, if you want to watch it streamed, there is some streaming, and it's going to be either, I think, £3, or if you do it through your phone, it's £1 more. But it's much, much easier to cancel because it's a rolling subscription.
We want Cross to grow. We want Cross to grow. We want sponsors. Sponsors want exposure. Exposure happens when you've got TV. You don't have TV, you don't get it growing. Now, you can battle away with it's the responsibility of the governing body, or it's why should we pay and paywall and all the rest of it. But you know what? If we want the sport to grow, do we want the sport to grow? If we get sponsors and we get coverage and we find a sustainable model, great, because it's not sustainable otherwise.
And as someone who, we're a micro business at Gritty, we're really small, every penny counts. We sponsor these. It varies event to event. There are some events where it's very, very, very commercial that we do, and we want to get value for money from them. And sometimes it is dreadful value for money because there's no media coverage for them. Other times, the promoters of the event, they see us as people that support the sport, and they want to help us out as well. And it's like, this is a way we can really help this small business who have put all these hours and hours and hours into doing free stuff like the Crosscast and everything else. So of course, come, do it for free or whatever. And most people are somewhere in between. So, and so these sponsors, for me as someone who's actually paying for the sponsorship, when there's no coverage, it doesn't feel good at all.
It makes it harder to justify for you. And again, it's also about teams. For Xan as a team rider, getting coverage, getting hits, getting views, getting exposure, getting publicity is absolutely critical. It literally keeps the sport ticking along. I think it's going to be great because we've got some. Not just at the very front of the race, where maybe it's a little bit clear-cut, particularly in the men's race, I think, of who's likely to be in that battle. But I think there's going to be some great battles right the way through. I am going to say, though, the best thing to do is not watch on telly, is actually to go to South Shields. Do that, get down there and watch. Neil, I'm going to ask you this question with trepidation now, given that, we only knew that the end of the National Trophy Series has been coming at the date it was for the last 12 months. And we know when the date of the national championships are. Do we know who's actually racing the national championships at this point?
Yeah, we do. That came about 10 minutes ago. So
what?
All good.
Okay.
We've got we've got the start list. So
spill the beans.
Right, the most important thing of all, I have to say on this is, Xan, what are you going to look like? What's your kit look like? No one's seen it because you've had national
Not
champs
yet.
stripes.
No, so you might, I don't know when this will get published, so you might have seen this by the time this is coming out, and you might have a bit of an idea of what it's going to look like, given I did do a few races early in the season. Basically, it's grey with a nice little yellow stripe down the front and back, which is quite cute. So yeah, but yeah, it's going to be very weird taking the stripes off for this one, I reckon.
So it'll be, yeah. So, and then Cam Mason, because we'd be used to seeing him, and he's, since we would have last seen him not in a jersey, he's Alpecin to Koenig now. So we'll have a different kit on to what we would have seen before. So yeah, obviously both Cam and Xan are going to be doing their first race in new kits because the national champion stripes have expired, and both of those will be hoping to channel their inner Sana Kant and to kind of go back to the other kit immediately afterwards. But nothing's guaranteed, and there's competitive fields in both. The women's field is not nailed on for anyone.
Stacked field. It's a stacked race field in under 23 and in elite. It is. Yeah.
So let's start off with
this because Neil sent me through the start sheet.
Number 1 and number 2. Well, and yeah, okay. The first 4 on the list. Let's go through those as a little cluster. We've got Xan Kreis, everyone's favourite podcaster, and we won't embarrass you too much here, but of course, everyone who listens to this show has followed your season intently because we talk about it all the time. Good luck, Xan.
Thank you.
And of course, we really hope you win it, but it doesn't mean that we don't hope everyone else can win it. If everyone's a winner. But anyway, Xan, we really wish you well and hope that all of the lead-in and everything else goes great. But let's move on to Zoe. Zoe Roach, not Zoe Backstead, as when there was the name that we're kind of skimming through and scanning for whether Zoe Backstead was actually going to ride it. But Zoe Roach is riding up as so she's still a junior. Whether this will work or not, or quite how well she'll go, she's certainly on form at the moment.
And then we've riding got well, isn't she?
Yep. We've got Fionn Drake and Anna Kay. So Fionn Drake, winner of the national trophy, and Anna Kay, of course, previous winner and on her home course. Yeah. So what do you think of that?
Anna on home turf is going to be. I mean, that's you. Can you imagine when we talked about like the crowd at Mol or Zonhoven? This is the northeast. I mean, anyone who remembers the Hetton national championship, so absolutely brilliant. I mean, it was still some iconic run up the bank images. One marshal or spectator in the northeast is worth about 20 on the south coast. I'm going to put my northern bias down here because of the volume of noise comes out of one of them is mental. When Anna Kay comes past, you know that basically most of the northeast are going to be deafened and there'll be seals coming in off the sea because of the volume, thinking that something's gone wrong. It's honestly, for me, it's going to. You know she's going to get support, but Xan, you've got a great season behind you. You've raced all this. You've got the experience and you know what it's like to win those stripes. You know what it means. You've got Zoe, who's won stripes as a junior mover. No, you've got Fionn, who has won the national trophy. You've Anna Kay's former winner. But then behind this 4 amazing riders, this quartet of amazing riders, Elena Day, Aldney Baker, Casey Ahington on North East ground, Ellie Mitchison in there, Grace Inglis. You could, who pulls out rides at championships for fun. Anna Flynn, who's just taken the last win. There is some, and it just keeps on going. And I think there's behind that battle for top 3, essentially you could be deciding the top 10, 15 riders because there could be that many, particularly if it stays fast and bunchy. I think that's going to make for some very, very difficult racing and some difficult choices for people in how they race it. Very much so. And having that new start is going to increase that as well. I think the battles behind where people are maybe not in that medal expectation, but are thinking, I want a top 15, I want a top 20 in this race, I want a top 25. Actually, even in that, it's got very, very tight indeed. I mean, it's a brilliant reflection of the state of the quality of rider that we have racing in GB. Yeah. It's all parts of the teams and the riders, because it's fantastic. I mean, what a problem to have with so many contenders and so many people are going to have a great race and a really tight battle. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I really think it's an anything can happen type of race. I think it could end up all splitting up, or it could end up being a big bunch finish at the end with
anything in between, probably,
and anything in between. Yeah, I think speaking from personal experience as well, on that venue, South Shields, it really punishes mistakes. So if you slip out somewhere, I know that I needed to take a risk to try to get past someone and take a line that wasn't the one I've been taking just as we coming into the finish a few years ago, and it didn't work out. And and then it's the next thing you're thinking is, oh man, that person behind me is coming in a bit quick. So yeah, you're so punished if you make mistakes. Everyone will make mistakes. It's just how lucky or unlucky they might be. Men's field is probably a bit less open in some ways, but there's a lot of people there who I don't think we'd be surprised. Yeah, okay, Cameron Mason has to be the favourite, bearing in mind his form certainly earlier in the season. But Thomas Main's he's seems to be on good form at the moment, and Cam isn't as good as he was when it was around European Champs time. So I think that's going to be really interesting. And again, Thomas has got that local support.
Exactly what I was going to say. You've got Thomas. You just know, and we know that Anna and Tom are both popular because they both go back and they go coaching and they go down to the kids' clubs that they have grown up in there. So you're going to have all those youngsters with that support as well. I do think Mason it's his to lose. If it's fast, he's national crit champ. If it's fast, he can employ those crit skills. If it's muddy, he's got the tech skills. Just about him just making sure he just keeps it together on the day for me. Even when you throw in like Jensen Young, or Ben Askey, or anybody else at this who on a good day can be up there, but they're not the same speed. I'd love to see one of the Barses be there, or like Luke Gibson have a great day, or Joe Beckinsale, or James Swadley. I mean, the people who've been around for ages, but is it going to happen? I struggle to see beyond Mason and Main plus either one of, either a Barnes or a Young or an Askey or similar coming in behind. Well, it's kind of a bit like that.
So there's other things which is like, someone needs to tell James Swadling that this isn't like the X2O series where you get extra bonus seconds by being the first on the first
James,
lap.
If you're listening,
so James
is
he just has amazing starts all the time. I don't know quite how he does it. I watch him start and he just like gets away fast. It's great. So yeah, he's had quite a lot of hole shots this year. So I think that would be quite an interesting one. Can James do it again?
Falconet. Used to get whole shot, then was rubbish. She went backwards, but she did it enough, and now she's taken those wins and got herself signed up for a new team. Come on, you can do this, James.
So, but what about the under 23s? Because I think that's just as it's probably more open. You've got Oscar Amy and Ben Askey, and then you've got Luke Gibson and Deck Oldham. Those four. I mean, they're all
big.
Yeah, they're all going to be amazing. In terms of the course, I don't know. I think it could be Amy. He was there. I'm sure it was Oscar Amy last year who was riding that course like so well. The person who's not here though is defending under 23 champion Ben Chilton. So Ben is I've been in touch with Ben today to find out. But yeah, he's on a training camp with his road team. So he's been based in France so he's on a training camp, so he isn't able to make it. But he was desperately hoping to be able to make it, but he can't be there this year. So
it's such a shame he's not riding. I think because he would have been the speed and the form he's probably got at the moment. And we know he's skilled. I think it would be. I quite like it when you when those random cards come in of people coming back. I think it's going to not to be this year, but the cross will be around.
Yep. So before we move on from the British one, smart timing. Anyone that gets a chance to see Mark and Louise, who run Smart Timing, this is going to be their last national race. So they're so good luck to them in their future ventures, and everyone share the love. And I'm sure they enjoy home cooked baked things. So
yes,
it's been a real part of our scene. Kind of quietly just being there, doing the results, and getting them out really quickly and so efficiently.
And for a lot of local leagues as well, haven't they, Neil? They've been local leagues. They're not just national trophy or national champs, and they do a mountain bike as well. I got to say a big thank you to Mark and Louise. They have done a sterling job for a long, long time, and now that they're hanging up, what do you hang up? Do you hang up your timing, Matt? I suppose you do if you need to dry it or clean it, but I don't know. Do you put the laptop away for the last time and go, thank you very much, I'm not going to look at a screen for like 15 hours a day, however long. No, they've been brilliant, and it's a new era. I wonder. Can't wait to see who takes on the role. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, good business opportunity there for someone, I'm sure.
Well, I guess it's going to tender, so it'd be interesting to see who goes in for it.
Yeah. So let's move across the Irish Sea. So the Irish champs. That's going to be an interesting one. It's kind of a really mixed course. So it's a kind of gravelly climb, and then it's an all-rounders type of course, a gravelly climb, and then gets a bit tricky and awkward, into some words, boggy bits, and then down the hill and back to the beginning and repeat. So it seems to be.
So it's climbing as well, and it sounds like a real epic.
But if you look at who's there, I've not seen the start list for that, but there's a lot of riders who we would know from the UK, the people that come over or have based themselves in the UK. So Esther Wong has been in those stripes. Also, Rasheen Lally will be racing for Gritty Race Team. So which I've got all my inside information on for this one. But there are a lot of really great riders, from Freya Whiteside and Hannah McClory. And so good luck to those who are going out in the women's field. The men's field, it always seems to me that there's fewer of those that come over to race.
But Dean Harvey, who's won the men's elite for last 3 years, Dean has been a regular visitor on the mountain bike scene, more than maybe on the cross scene. Chris Dawson, again, another of our regulars that we see coming over. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out with everybody racing. I particularly given the course it is. I think the course is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out with people racing something just maybe that little bit different from a classic cross course or
so let's move on to the continent. There's loads of them. So Matt, you can take your pick. Where do you think we should start? And what do you think are the interesting ones? Yeah,
I am torn. I think the men's French Championships, which you can watch, but you probably need Eurosport to do so, or similar, wherever you are in the world. I think that's going to be really interesting to watch because you've got Leo Bissiou, you've got David Manu, you've got Gros Lambert, Thomas Lalande, you've got Dubau in there, Sparfell. It's not that you've got any one superstar, but you've got a lot of people who've been between 8th, 10th in the World Cups and when it's been a super prestige running that have been up there and about 15th, 20th place. And the way that they've been riding lately, they've been coming across the line in 2 or 3 together. I think the men's is going to be absolutely stupendous. I think that's going to be a brilliant race to watch because there's no sort of clear favourite in there. The women's is a bit more, I've struggled to see beyond Andine Fauconnet taking the win. Jury could pull it out from the bag potentially, or Closel, but in terms of the men's racing, maybe the French men's might be the one to watch. In terms of the women's racing, it's hard to look past the Dutch Championships always, the Netherlands Championships, because of the quality of riders that are there. But there's also missing riders, so it's a tough one. I don't know. I quite like to look at the Belgian Championships.
But I think it's true in the men's as well in the Dutch, the Netherlands, because I think Matthew van der Poel isn't on the start list for that, so it's going to be a bit more open. Del Grosso, of course, will want to defend it.
Yeah, I think, but it's about who's not there, isn't it? And I think that's kind of the thing. It's who's not in the race, because we know we've not got Van der Poel, because we know a number of riders are going to be out. I don't know.
It'd be quite fun if Van der Poel won it, though, wouldn't it?
It would be awesome. I don't think it'll put him off from continuing to race it. To stop racing. Sorry, I just can't imagine that's going to be the case. I think it'd be interesting to see. Of course, we've got a bit of elevation in it in the Netherlands champs, but yeah, it's. Well, but what about you, Sam? What would you be? What were you going to be when you watching something that's not the British champs, obviously?
See, this is and it's for a slightly different reason too. See, I was going to say the French women's race. Now, yes, I would say you probably have a race favourite, but we can see this year just how much stronger the French field has got. And I don't think you could call the positions after first. And I still don't think that first place is guaranteed, because it's very different when you take a rider in a very diverse international field to a field of, a lot less riders, particularly like just in their own country. So I actually am really personally excited for the women's French national champs. I think it's going to be one of the best of the weekend, to be honest. And then obviously there's your boring ones that, there's the men's Belgian, the men's Dutch champs. Like, they are going to be interesting races, but they are because they are the nations that do have all the riders.
Switzerland is going to be fun as well, with Jolanda Neff.
Is she racing Swiss champs?
She's on the start list. Yeah, she's on the start list, as is Alessandra Keller. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of riders. Most of them mountain bikers, or a lot of them primarily mountain bikers. So that's going to be really interesting one to see. Men's race, it's going to be whether Kevin Kuhn can do it yet again. But again, there's other riders who are in there who we may have seen around. So we've got Roulier. And so Spanish is televised as well. I don't quite know how you get it. But Matt, are you going to be on the mic for Benidorm?
For the UCI World Cup, I am. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I'm basically I'm into the finish now. So Benidorm, then the double weekend of Maasmechelen and Hoge Heide, and they're all remote, so they'll be from the studio. And then I'm going to be in person at the venue for World Champs at Hulst. Yeah. And that's actually, I'm going to be there from the Thursday. Can't say anything more than that, but I have to be there on Thursday. Draw your own conclusions and don't say anything out loud.
Cool.
So,
Zan, Zan, are you racing Benidorm?
I am. So I'm actually quite excited. I'm kind of doing a bit of a team training camp whilst over there. So I head out pretty much straight after national champs, spend some time riding my bike in Spain, have a cross race in the middle, and then keep riding my bike in Spain. So I am very, very excited to Benidorm, I can't lie.
It's become one of the really accessible ones because of flights, because of transport for a lot of people. And I always think it's a race that really I absolutely love because it is so different. And I think it's what we do need at the World Cups is different racing. So if you've not seen it, do have a look back on the past videos, however you pick up your footage. Have a watch of some of the other ones. It is a course that is a real mix, and I think it does help if people have ridden road and have ridden gravel as well as ridden cross. I think having that mix of skills actually does come in. Not very often, but at some key points on that course, it does play out, whether that's the big climb, whether that's the scrabbly bits through the brush and the wood. Knowing about where to be on the race line, the sort of stones that you get off race line that develop. I think there's a lot of gravel skill in there as well that you maybe just don't normally see in a cyclocross race. And I think it's broadening the skill sets that's needed. And that then throws a different angle into the racing. And I think it's a really good one to go see in person as well. Xan, good luck. Enjoy riding if you're out there at the right, on beforehand. Just don't go too crazy trying to beat all the records at the Col de Rats or similar. No setting the fastest Strava time and taking the crown. Although that would.
That'd be a very good effort.
To be honest, after that, you wouldn't need to ride the Benidorm. If you could beat everybody's time up there, you probably wouldn't need to ride the exposure would be huge. You wouldn't need to ride the World Cup.
Excellent. So that, I think we've had a bumper show. I hope everyone who's spectating, watching on YouTube, or you are going to be racing for your respective national champs, I hope that everything goes well for you. We know what our sport is like. Some people have good days, some people have bad days. Whatever happens, do what you can. You're on the start line. It's you and it's your kit and your equipment, and do what you can with it and do what you do best, and don't be a muppet like I was at the last round for the first quarter of a lap. So after I'd already crashed, I have to say. So that will wrap things up. Xan, where's the best place for people to follow what you're doing, apart from at the side of the course?
We'd like to keep it nice and simple. I am just Xan Cruise on all social media platforms. You can also follow Xan Cruise Racing for very specific race day updates. Matt, whereabouts are we finding you other than on the UCI feed at the moment?
Yeah, glued in front of a TV screen. So you can catch up with me at Matt Fix Pain on Instagram. I do put things on there occasionally. It does happen. You can follow me on Strava and Facebook and all the rest of it. And I will be, as usual, putting most of the action to the My Whoosh Sunday Race Club with our 600 plus riders, 650 riders a week now, every single week racing for big bucks and on some very fun courses. So, catch up with me there. And but do me a favour. It's not about the commentary teams. It's not about us. Don't get on the keyboards. Get on the keyboard, follow people like Xan who are racing, and follow the people who support the sport. It's not just Full Speed Events, our commentary company that supports various riders and teams. It's people like Gritty and Neil. So give them a follow as well. Neil, where can people follow you?
So I'm at Crosscast Neil on Instagram and other places. And then you can find us at Gritty Kit for the business, and you can go on to gritty.co.uk to see what goodies we have out there. We will be at National Champs. We've been getting really good engagement actually with what we've been putting out from the Crosscast, as well as my own personal feed on the laps, that Neil's preview of the lap. Don't know how useful they are, but people seem to really enjoy them, and I think it's mostly because you get a chance to get a feel for the course, and you can watch it multiple times because it's all done on some time-lapsey thing on my GoPro. So you can get a real feel and learn in the course before you actually get to ride it, which people seem to really enjoy. So I'll try to do that again this weekend. Good luck with the weather. Good luck with people traveling. Hope that everything is good for you. And come and say hi at the Gritty City this weekend, or the Gritty Gloriette, apparently it's supposed to be called. But we'll see you on the other side of the tape. Bye.